Good of Shabbos. Today is Tesvav Elul, the 15th of Elul. It's a very auspicious day in the Chabad calendar. It's the day when the Yeshiva, Chaim Mimim, the Lubavitcher Yeshiva, which is called Chaim Mimim, was established and founded by the Rebbe Rashab, Reb Shalom Ber, in the year 1897 in Lubavitcher. And since then, this day is celebrated in particular by students in the yeshiva, having a farbrengen, and even those that are already out of yeshiva but who had the merit of learning in the yeshiva. It's an auspicious day. So I'm going to share a few ideas, a few stories, and encourage everyone, especially the Lubavitchers, to send their sons to Chaim Mimim, and even not Lubavitchers to consider sending their sons to this special yeshiva. So it was 1904, and a group of Litvische Bachurim got hold of the Kuntris Eitz Chaim, and they saw that the Rebbe Rashab said that without learning Chassidus, one's Yiras Shamayim is questionable. And this outraged them. This really, really upset them. So they sent a delegation to Reb Chaim Moiser, to Reb Chaim Brisker, and to the holy Chofetz Chaim. The Chofetz Chaim told them that all he knows is that his Rosh Yeshiva and Naftali Trop went to see the Rebbe Rashab for some communal issue, and he was so impressed with the Bachurim and the Yeshiva, the way they learned, and in particular their Yiras Shamayim. Years later, in 1910, I believe, the Rebbe Rashab met the Chofetz Chaim at the convention where they sought to change the proposed law that Rabbonim, rabbis in Russia, need to be educated in the Russian language. So the Chofetz Chaim asked the Rebbe Rashab, how is it that I speak so much about and I write about wearing a beard, growing a beard, and my Talmidim in my yeshiva and Radin, most of them don't have beards. And here I heard from Reb Naftali Trop that in your yeshiva everyone has a beard. Do you speak about it? Do you write about it? So the Rebbe Rashab said, no, I don't speak much about it, and I don't write about it. But we learn Chassidus, and when you learn Chassidus, the focus is Elikus, Einod Milvado, God. And if you're connected to Hashem on that level, of course you're going to grow your beard. So I don't have to write about it, I don't have to speak about it much. So this story shows that the Chofetz Chaim and his Rosh Yeshiva, Reb Naftali Trop, were very, very respectful, highly respectful of Chaim Mimim. And in a way were jealous that Chaim Mimim produces Talmidim that do grow beards, and they can't produce that, even though the Chofetz Chaim preaches about it left and right and say, help gar nit. It don't help at all. It's like talking to a wall. Another story. Years ago, when I was researching and writing a book called The Rebbe's Advice, Volume 2, I was sitting in the Heichel Menachem Library here in Borough Park, and I believe it was Chelik Chav Beis of Lekutei Sichos. In the back, they had the letters of the Rebbe, and I was flipping through the letters. I'm sorry, it was Chelik Chav Beis of the Igros Kodesh, and I came across a letter where the Rebbe writes to the Anhola, the administration in Kfar Chabad of the Cheder, and he says, I know that some of your people are Shpitz Chabad, and they want that in the Cheder they should speak Yiddish, only Yiddish, not Lashon Kodesh, not Hebrew. And because they don't, therefore they're sending their children, even as young as 3 years old, they're sending them to other institutions, not Lubavitcher institutions. And the Rebbe says, this is not an acceptable excuse. You have to read the letter, and you're talking here about young children. And why I left an impression is because at that time, one of my daughters was studying here at a local play group, and they were learning in Yiddish. And the next year she was going to Beis Rivka, so I asked my wife, well, in Beis Rivka, do they have a Yiddish class for the girls? She said, no. So I said to myself, this is before I saw the letter, the same day, I said to myself, I think we should keep her here another year. And then I went to the library and I came across this letter, and I said, the Rebbe just sent me a letter from on high telling me don't be Shpitz Chabad and send your daughter to Beis Rivka where she belongs because she's a Lubavitcher girl. It's hard to put in words what Lubavitcher Yeshiva Tomchei Mimim is. But as a student of Tomchei Mimim, I tell you, it's not just about learning, and it's not about learning Gemara with Mefarshim and Halacha, and it's even not just about learning Chassidus. It's an entire ethos. It's an ethos that comes when you invest yourself being there, living there, sleeping there, eating there. When we were in Tomchei Mimim, whether it be in Morristown, the Lubavitcher Yeshiva and Ocean Parkway, and then the Morristown, then later in 770, the Arum means the environment, was Lubavitch. And what is Lubavitch? Avas Yisrael, Avas Hashem, Avas HaTorah, but with a bittul, with a humility, no fanfare. And I think both for my Lubavitcher friends and both for my non-Lubavitcher friends, whether it be Litvischer or the Hasidic people, this idea of not being put into a box where you come out feeling, oh, I'm this and I'm that and I know this and I know that, this is something that being part of the Lubavitcher Yeshiva system permeates your being, and you come out like that. So of course, being a Talmud Chacham is important, and a Rav is important, and a Yiras Shamayim is important, and not being an Amarit is important, being knowledgeable of Torah, it's all important. But the main thing is to feel for another Yid, not to feel yourself better than anyone else, and to truly have that sincerity and simplicity. And that's what I saw from my teachers, my Rebbes, and I saw from older Chassidim. This was Lubavitch. This is the way it was in Lubavitch from 1897 on Tesvav Elul, when the Rashab founded the yeshiva and called it Tomchei Mimim. The name itself, Tomchei Mimim, the supporters of the sincere ones, the Tmimim. And you know today the word Tamim. Are you a Tamim? Or they call someone up to Torah, Yamoid HaBocher HaTamim. Sometimes they call him up that way. And some laugh at it. There's nothing to be laughed at. A Tamim is demonstrative of a bocher, of a student who learns or learned in Tomchei Mimim. And learning in Tomchei Mimim, that label is a genuine label. That label denotes a simplicity and sincerity of the heart to put yourself aside and be there for another Yid, and to learn with a Chassidishkeit and a Varmkeit, and to learn well, and to learn deeply, and to harav in learning, but never forget the Neisan HaTorah, the giver of the Torah. Never forget that we are all instruments of HaKadosh Baruch Hu. So on a day like this, in Chodesh Elul, it's the midpoint of Elul, Tesva, 15th of Elul. 15 more days is the holy days of Reish Hashanah, followed by the Aseres Yemei Tshuva, and followed by Yom Kippur, followed by Sukkot and Shmini Atzeres and Simchas Torah. We're embarking on the Chodesh that the Medrash says is Ruba B'Moedos. There's an abundance of holidays. So we have 15 more days to prepare, and with which of the 15 begins the preparation? Today, the 15th of Elul, the day of the Hisyasdus of Tomchei Tmimim. May Hashem help that we should remind ourselves of our good old yeshiva days as Bochrim in yeshiva, and we should share this with our family, children, grandchildren, and friends. Say l'chaim, make a fabrengen, say a few words at the table about it, relive the experience, allow yourself to be absorbed by something that brings a wonderful feeling. The Eibishter helfen, it should be bekorev mamish, in a freilichen way, in a gesunter way, in a happy way, in a healthy way, ultimately seeing Mashiach Tzidkenu, Yerushalayim Ir HaKodesh, Amen v'Amen.